This is The Chris Heasley Show, coming to you from Radiodabang, the North America's premier broadcasting network.
Hey, this is Chris Heasley with The Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on tonight's show, we'll be covering Fort Bend County, all things Fort Bend. And we have two candidates for local office in our studio tonight who are going to discuss those things with us. Tonight we have John Placette, who is a candidate for JP Court Precinct 3. How are you doing tonight?
Very good, Chris.
Good.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you for finally coming on the show. I'm glad we can finally sit down and have a good conversation. I think we're going to get into a lot of really interesting things in Fort Bend. It's going to be a good night. And we have Adam Schoof, candidate for County Commissioner Precinct 3. Precinct 4, I'm sorry.
Precinct 4,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. And how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Can't wait to hear about your campaign. It's very exciting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, John, tell us about yourself.
Well, 68 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married with children, with grandchildren, 9 grandchildren. When we get together, we call it Holy Chaos because that's exactly what it is. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3. Actually, it's going to wind up being place 1 of Precinct 3. Judge Ken Kanata was appointed by the commissioners in Fort Bend County to fill a position in place 2 in Needville. So I'll be running for the Sugarland office.
Who currently holds that seat?
Sonia Rash, which is a Democrat.
What makes you want to run? Why are you running for the JP Court?
It actually started when I was looking at some genealogy, and it took me back, family-wise, to the Revolutionary War. Come to find out, I had ancestors who one was a gunsmith during the Revolutionary War. With the 250th anniversary of our nation, it started a process of me thinking about what have I done, what can I still do, and how I can use my talents to still serve the people. Because in some way or another, I've served people since I was 19 when I went to work for the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office.
What is your background?
It's all criminal justice or legal services. Started out with the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office. Worked my way from being a court bailiff to being a patrol sergeant. Went to work for the Sugarland Police Department, worked there as a training officer. And then from there, went to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, where I served 20 years around the state in different locations. Corpus Christi, Abilene, Houston. I was actually in Corpus twice, and in Houston twice. But Fort Bend County has always been my home. So I wound up back in Fort Bend with the Fort Bend County Attorney's Office.
So do you have any opinion on the state of the JP courts in Fort Bend County today?
They're growing at a tremendous rate. The JP courts are handling cases. Of course, it's the people's court, so it's the lower level judicial cases, criminal cases that are fine only, civil cases where the dispute is less than $20,000, landlord-tenant cases, mental health orders, emergency detention orders, that sort of thing. In Fort Bend, we now have 2 JPs in 3 of the precincts, with Precinct 4 being one that just has 1 JP.
What's the how efficient are the courts today?
They're not as. I don't think they're as efficient as they could be. The judge sets the tone. If the judge is conscious of his job and pushes the court to move the cases, to have a good case flow management, it helps everybody. When cases are delayed, and I've heard this many times, when cases are delayed, things have a tendency to go wrong. People lose things, people forget things, and it's an injustice to everyone.
Are cases delayed today, or are they moving quite well?
In some of the courts, they're moving quite well. In Precinct 3, I think they could move better. I really do.
Is Precinct 3, is that court under construction right now, or there's a new building or something of that sort?
There is a new annex building that was built, and
Because I
but
remember,
it's occupied now.
Okay, Precinct 3, I think they moved the court.
Well, they're building out the court in Needville again to have a JP full time there. But the annex where it is now, near Constellation Field, is up and running.
So, what if you were to win for the JP court? Tell me your vision of how the court would run under your guidance.
Number one, with strong justice, which means being decisive and holding to the cases, making sure as much as possible that the court handles the cases without appeals as much as possible. Having the good case flow management and just being efficient. Government has to be efficient, has to use the money that we contribute as taxpayers wisely.
I consider the JP courts to be the most important of all courts, and I'll explain why. Okay, so, they sort of get dismissed. The judge in a JP court does not have to be a lawyer, does not have to have a law degree. Do you have a degree?
No. I have legal experience,
so with that
but not a legal degree.
Right, and so with that being said, it's the people's court. It's a great phrase that you use. I don't think there's any detriment to not having a degree. I really don't. I think the quality of educated people is declining every day. When they don't have a degree, we know they haven't been through the indoctrination system.
Well, Chris, in my world and at my age, my generation was sold the lie that you won't be successful if you don't go to college, and most of my peers who went to college sit on massive debt, as much as my mortgage payment, to make as much or less than what I do without a college degree. And the millennials it was drowned into our heads from the time that we were in kindergarten. I remember being a kindergarten student in the 90s, early 90s, and being told you have to go to college, otherwise you will not be successful. And all that did was force my generation into massive amounts of debt. And 80% of all people, all millennials with college degrees, don't hold career or jobs in their field of study anyway.
I mean, if you go get the college degree, those are critically productive years where you could be building a business. So you could be building, for example, an insurance business or a real estate business. You're living at home, your expenses are low, you can be more entrepreneurial and just grow and save. I think that people have to think twice about getting a degree these days.
Absolutely. Not to mention, I've noticed, especially in my line of work in education, more of a philanthropy. A lot of times, those with doctorates tend to overcomplicate very simple problems.
That's a great way to put it. But getting back to the JP court, it's the court where it's really the people's court, and I think it's the most important court because it's a court where you don't have to have an attorney; you can represent yourself, and oftentimes people do, and they will win even when going up against an attorney. And so, if it doesn't cost as much to go there. I just think it's a really critical court to the community, and it doesn't get the respect it should.
I agree. Having credentials, I think, are very important sometimes. Having a knowledge base and experience, and above all, wisdom. If you can acquire wisdom, then that's half the battle.
So, okay, let's talk about how you would interpret cases that come in front of you.
My background is law enforcement. Law enforcement is used to taking a set of circumstances, looking at it from the lens of law, and determining an action. And that's exactly what a judge does every day. Police officers do it many, many times a day. You just taking regular circumstances, applying the law.
And then the lawyers overcomplicate it.
Sometimes.
Yes, I agree. I don't know. I guess that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I want to talk. We'll get more into your police work in a bit. I want to talk to Adam a little bit,
Sure.
because I know he also comes from a law background. But tell us about yourself, Adam. Tell us what you're running for.
Well, my name's Adam Schoof. I'm running for County Commissioner in Precinct 4, Fort Bend. But essentially, my career started at 11 years old when I discovered that I really liked airplanes and flying airplanes. I bugged my parents over and over again, hey, let me take a flight lesson. Let me take a flight lesson. On my 11th birthday, Mom and Dad finally gave in. They thought that would shut me up. But quite contrary, all I discovered is that I could take these green things called dollars and trade them for avgas and flight instruction. And so I started taking flight lessons at 11 years old, and I pushed a lawnmower in every yard that I could in order to fund my, I'll call it an aviation addiction, jokingly. And that turned into, I soloed, and I did my first solo when I turned 16. First time flying an airplane by myself. And then I went to the DMV and got my driver's license. And while I was in high school, I had to wait till I was 17 to get my pilot's license. And in the meantime, I went through a college technical education career program, or career technical education program that was the Fire Academy. And I got certified as a firefighter while I was in high school, and did some really amazing fire department internships in the wildland firefighting world of California. And then I got my private pilot's license, and 2008 market crash was going on. Nobody was hiring anybody, and I decided I knew that I wanted to serve in the military since a young age, since I watched the towers fall on 9/11. I enlisted in the Army as a MP, military policeman, and got stationed at Fort Drum, New York. Served the soldiers of Fort Drum as a law enforcement officer for 4 years, and simultaneously, I worked on an ambulance while I was an MP, and I was a volunteer fireman. And from there, continued my aviation ratings, and still fly to this day. Got out of the military, moved right here to Fort Bend County, where I started my career in Fort Bend as a law enforcement officer for the city of Needville, actually. And I was a police officer for the city of Needville, while simultaneously I was a firefighter for the Needville Fire Protection District. And I continued to advance my career in law enforcement. And my daughter got into school age, and I started getting very attentive on the education system and what was going on with her in school. And I decided after the 2023 bond for the Fort Bend Independent School District, my property taxes shot up dang near $1,000 a month, and I wasn't liking the return that I was getting in the neighborhood or in the area that we were living in for my daughter's education. I decided I was going to run for office. I ran to be a trustee on the Fort Bend Independent School District, and I won my race. And I've held my seat for about 2 years, almost 2 years. And my first year in office, I was able to save us $40 million in that bond problem in construction costs by nickel and diming our construction companies with their projects, figuring out how much each component is costing, and using the analogy of, well, how come we're paying X amount when I can go down to Home Depot and buy the same part for a lot cheaper? And the school district also went from a C to B rating just by using common sense, implementing policy, and bringing back phonics-based learning, getting rid of things like Common Core math. That stuff is terrible. But there's still a lot to go and on the education side. But I decided to run for county commissioner because I don't like watching these legacy construction projects happen. 10 years for a road to be built is entirely too long. I think that by exploring some bond refinancing for some of the interest and sinking, the debt that we've got, we can save the taxpayer a lot of money and eventually shift the financial burden off of the homeowner into industrial tax revenue.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. One of the things I think we're kind of coming to the conclusion on the show is that this idea of expansive government needs to die. The County Commissioners Court has this idea of Sugar Land being a booming metropolis to rival Houston, and of Fort Bend rivaling Houston. And with that, they have these idea for expansive projects like arenas and epicenters and parking lots and hotels and things of that sort, all on the back of the taxpayer, while the county commissioners get more entrenched in their position. And of course, I don't agree with that growth. Nobody's challenging them with that today. But what the growth I do agree with is industrial parks, expansion of rail lines, things of that sort. But yeah, I think that's kind of like the issue in Fort Bend County today.
Absolutely. It's okay to have nice things if you can afford it, and it just like it's not wise to finance toys. Like it's not wise to go take out $100,000 loan for a boat that you're going to use twice a year. And I mean, plain and simple, Fort Bend County it's a bedroom community, and the residential homeowner bears the burden almost entirely of the tax base in this county.
Yep. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about our featured product real quick. It is the LifeWave X39 patch. The LifeWave X39 patch. And what this patch is, it's right here on my wrist. This is incredible technology. So what this technology does, and this is going to sound too good to be true, but what it does, it reverses the age of your heart by up to 8 years. With 6 months of using this patch, it reverses the age of your heart by up to 8 years. It does this by stimulating your through phototherapy. It awakens dormant stem cells. This is a proven technology. It reverses the age of your heart by up to 8 years with 6 months of use. It doesn't anti-age. It doesn't slow age. It reverses age. And so sounds like almost unbelievable, but the clinical trials are done. The legal filings are in. It is a proven fact that it achieves this. Now, what does that mean? So you reduce the age of your heart. What does that do? What does that do for you externally? Well, it extrapolates in all different ways for different people, but generally speaking, everyone gets better. You get healthier in one way or another. You have more energy, or you have hair grow back in places it didn't, or you have that lower back pain go away. It is an incredible technology. One thing it does for all of us is it makes us all look younger, considerably younger by almost a decade. It's the LifeWave X39 patch. Very affordable, $100 a month for 30 patches. You put it on for 12 hours a day. What it does is it reflects light into your body, which triggers the copper peptide and wakens dormant stem cells. Incredible technology. To get the order link or to learn more, text Patriot to 330-606-2304. All right, so tell us about your work experience in the police departments.
Well, I'm a patrol guy. And if I win this race, unfortunately, I'd have to step away from law enforcement. But I like being on the streets, talking to people, chasing bad guys, finding large. I've had some very good narcotic seizures in my career. I used to really enjoy getting intoxicated drivers off of the road. I've got a passion for crash investigation and getting into the technicalities of major collisions. But essentially, I like face-to-face interactions and really getting to know your community and being well intertwined with the community and a member of it.
And John, you also have police work experience, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
I started out with the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department. I was 19, worked as a court bailiff. I was too young to buy ammunition, but old enough to be a deputy sheriff.
And wear a gun, right?
Yes, sir. Worked my way into patrol, and then as a patrol sergeant with the sheriff's office. Moved to Sugar Land PD, and from there to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. My route was more investigative and more towards what I really enjoyed was a white-collar crime. Later on, I became a certified fraud examiner. And if I was starting out in my career right now, it would be with that because there is so much fraud there. In private business, corporate world, all over the place. We hear about it every day.
Tell us some stories.
Corpus Christi, when I got there, I walked into a bar. In the bar was a guy that I had arrested in Fort Bend County. He had moved up from marijuana to cocaine and had bought into the bar to launder money. And from my recognition of him, we wound up working some federal cases with IRS on where the money was coming from, that was being laundered, and then where it was going to.
Very
So
interesting.
it's an interesting process.
Yeah. Tell us what your interesting stories are from the police world.
Well, I one time got a call for a burglary of motor vehicle in progress and somebody breaking into a car, and rush over there. And this is probably the craziest police story that I had because it turned into a bunch of arrests, and it just goes to show how small little things and doing your job right leads to bigger fish to fry. But get over there, and a group of kids were breaking into a car, and one of the kids I located, get him in handcuffs, put him in the back of the patrol car, and two other guys had gone out and located two other kids, and while they were the owners of the car, they apprehend them, so to speak, which it turned out later they unlawfully restrained them. But they were breaking into the car because the guy who owned the car was a drug dealer. He sold narcotics, and these kids figured out that his process was, because he didn't want to be caught with the drugs, he would leave the drugs in the glove box, and then the buyer would show up to his house, take the drugs out, put the cash in the car. And essentially, these kids, they figured that out, and they would wait for the cash to come, and then they would steal the cash out of the car. And, well, this guy caught them, and he did what you could expect a drug dealer to do when you steal his money, and two of the kids got away with the cash. Well, that turned into we arrested the drug dealer for unlawful restraint and the other guy who owned the house for unlawful restraint. And, well, we had their cell phones in evidence, or not in evidence, but we took their property, and this one guy said that, oh, I want my cell phone to be left with the drug dealer's wife. And so we left the cell phone with the drug dealer's wife. 2:00 in the morning, I clear the jail, and this woman, the drug dealer's wife, comes down to the office, and she's like, hey, I need to talk to this one detective. I'm like, ma'am, he's not going to be here till till tomorrow. She's like, I need him here now. And I told her, I was like, hey, he's not going to be here, but what do you need to talk to him about? I'll relay the message if it's that pressing. And I'd interacted with her a few times. I'd go, ma'am, have you ever known me to be anything other than a straight shooter? I'm not going to. She's like, no, I don't want it covered up. I'm like, man, I'm the last person to cover up anything. Well, she opens up this phone that this guy had just to show me a lot of child pornography, and sees that phone. And that child pornography, it was seized. We ended up getting search warrants for all of this guy's electronic devices, where it just kept snowballing. It was so much of this, the worst stuff you could ever see in your life. Well, come to find out, a lot of these images were of children in Fort Bend County. And it turned, that one single case ended up turning into probably 12 or 15 other indecency with the child cases. And this particular man, this was well over 10 years ago, he will never see the light of day. He is gone. He is off the streets of Fort Bend County, and the children of Fort Bend County are safer. And there are a lot of parents who are at ease now, because the rumors about this guy had been going around Fort Bend County since the 80s, and nobody ever had the smoking gun to put this guy away, and we got to put him away for the rest of his life.
That's fascinating. That's a great story.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So, John, you're a deacon, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
I'm a Roman Catholic deacon assigned to Sacred Heart. I'm ordained for the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. Been a deacon for 13 years. We had a class of 29 that went through when I went through in 2013. But a Catholic deacon does some of the things that a Catholic priest does. We don't celebrate Mass. We don't hear private confessions. But we are able to baptize children, to witness marriages, to officiate at funerals, and to serve the people. So I serve as a pastoral assistant at Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Richmond.
John, I didn't know you were at Sacred Heart. My mother actually goes to Sacred Heart in Richmond. So small world.
Uh-huh. You know, I saw her name, or saw a name go across my desk, just a roster, and noticed it was the same name.
Paula,
we
Paula
haven't had
Show.
a chance to talk.
Yeah, she's a wonderful woman. Wonderful, very, very. She raised me right.
So, tell us about the state of your campaign today.
I don't think
He's in the primary.
I'm in a primary, but I don't think my campaign could go any better.
Tell me about it.
A lot of door knocking. I mean, every single day of my life right now is campaigning. And
How do you fit it in when you're working at your police job?
well, thankfully, I only work 13 days a month, so it's more of fitting that in around school board. That's more of a,
And you're
a
still
hassle.
sitting on the school board.
I'm still sitting on the school board. Yep, I'm still sitting on the school board. But I'm door knocking a lot of time out on the golf cart, talking to people, and I'm the particular neighborhoods that I'm really targeting. I'd say probably 1 out of 5 doors is telling me they're already voting for me. I'm not seeing any negativity. It's wonderful. A lot better than even my first campaign went.
Looking forward to it. It's an exciting race.
It really
If
is.
you win the primary, then who are the Democrats on the other side?
Oh, there's a lot of them.
It's a big race.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
a big race.
Is there any front runners?
I've been hearing the former constable Nabil Sheikh's name a lot.
Goodness, he's got name recognition, but he is a bit of a volatile guy.
Yes, and that if he comes through, that's going to be an interesting race, being cop on cop, and I'm pretty confident I'll pull through on that.
Your race is interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
So tell us about the state of your campaign. You're in the primary.
I think it's going very well.
Have there been any polls done?
There's been a couple, unofficial, unscientific polls.
And how'd you come out?
On both the polls that I've seen, I came out number 1. There's 3 of us in the race, but it's going to be interesting. I ran for justice of the peace in Precinct 2 the last election cycle. The good thing about it, with the redistricting thing that the county has gone through, a lot of that area that was in Precinct 2 is now in Precinct 3. The Needville area, Greatwood, Sugar Creek, some of that area around Sugar Creek is back in a very competitive precinct. When I ran in Precinct 2, I knew it was going to be a long shot. The demographics are 60-40
Democrat.
I lost 60-40.
Well, okay, if you win the primary, I mean, what are your chances of winning the general?
I think they're very good.
Okay, tell me why.
In the redistricting, just because of the sheer numbers, it looks like the precinct itself may be 55-45 Republican if the demographics hold, of course. You never know how an election is going to go. That's why we're pushing so hard to get people to turn out to vote, because every vote counts, no matter what. I'll be running against the incumbent, Sonia Rash, who is the office holder right now. She's one term so far.
Do you think Democrats are damaged goods in Fort Bend, or do you think they're on the rise?
When I was growing up, the Democratic Party was totally different than what it is right now.
It's a Marxist organization today.
It was very much the People's Party.
It was traditional blue collar, right? Mm-hmm.
A lot of labor unions, that did some really good things for their time.
It's all been infiltrated. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And now the Democratic Party has gone very, very off the rails, I think. It wouldn't be a party that my father or my grandfather would recognize.
What about the residents of, because I'm with you. I think the Democrats are on the decline. They've seen their best days, but they are a well-entrenched animal. They're a cornered animal, and they are fierce fighters. They're a machine.
They are able to organize very well.
Yeah. They don't have their talking points. Their talking points are gone. They really have none. They run from the debate, but they still seem how to win. While on the run, they seem to know how to win at the same time.
Yeah, unfortunately, they have a tendency to use some of the same old arguments over and over. Race relations.
I think they can't use that one anymore. I think the race card is dead. That's a real problem for them.
Well, it's hopefully, I grew up when in the early. I was very young, but I can remember the segregation. Martin Luther King. The things that the country went through at that time. We've gone way past that, but some people still go back to that as an issue. I think we're doing a lot better than we once did.
Well, what I think is on the rise is generational politics. The millennial and Gen Z generations, they're like we're the highest tax property owners are millennials, and everybody skipped over my generation in politics. We were just kind of looked at as a lost cause from the beginning, and I'm seeing in my campaign, I'm seeing people more my age that are willing to vote against their own party lines, just because, well, my generation and younger doesn't really have a voice in politics yet. So everybody's playing identity politics and everybody's missing generational.
Well, I think what happened is I would describe the current generation like this, where before the Obama Democrats were the coolest kids in school. They were the ones that they wanted to be associated with that brand. They talked like him. They used the same verbiage, all that stuff. That's all gone. Well, and I think kids today are done with all of the just the charades that politicians are bringing them. I don't think the cult of personality is so strong anymore.
Well, traditionally, everybody was a Democrat until they started paying taxes. And that's kind of, and it's funny, we're going full circle back to the college education thing. That whole thing goes back to, we were sold the lie that you have to go to college to be successful. And then the majority of my generation is up to their eyeballs in student loan debt. And they're not even in the situation to be able to pay property taxes because they can't afford to own a home.
Yeah. I feel like, they get in their most formative years, they go and take $100,000 in debt for a college degree that's becoming more meaningless every day. But at the same time, the college enrollments are packed to the gills.
To the gills, and you've got all kinds of people that are my age and younger who got degrees in what I jokingly call underwater basket weaving, that they get out and go to enter the workforce, and there's no six-figure job waiting for them at the end of their bachelor's. It's not there. And all these research degrees that only qualify you to get hired by a university, and it keeps them in the education circle. And, without pursuing education in your STEM topics, or your engineering, medical, technology, everything else, there's no guarantee for a job. But my generation was lied to by the education system, saying that, no, you have a 4-year degree. That means that you're qualified to make six figures.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us where we can learn more about your campaign.
Where? Facebook. Facebook's the main spot for my campaign. I do have
Give the name of the page.
Adam Schoof. Just anybody can add my Facebook. My generation, we've been online since Windows 98, and nothing about my life is private. So if you Google my name, you'll find all kinds of news articles and information about me. Even crashed an airplane a few years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
And survived.
You want to tell that story? You want to tell that story
absolutely. In March of 2021, my very close friend of mine, who's also a law enforcement officer, we were flying to New Mexico to explore a brokerage firm that we were thinking about buying, and we decided to take this awesome airplane called a Mooney. It's about as fast of a plane as you can get for as little money as possible, and a great airplane. And we were flying over the Pyramid Mountain Range out in New Mexico. I've flown over it hundreds of times, and we encountered some icing. So we were up at 14,000 feet on oxygen. Up that high, you have to have an oxygen mask in an unpressurized plane. We started picking up a little bit amount of ice on the wings, and so I go to descend down to 11,000 feet. I'm talking air traffic control the whole time. We're descending through a cloud layer, and the ice it looks like it's dissipating, and it was turbulent, so I pull the power out to slow down the airplane so we're not getting rocked around in turbulence as much. And we get to 11,000, I go to put the power back in, and the power isn't there anymore. And the theory is that the intake for the engine iced over. And, well, I'm trying everything. Run the engine failure checklist, run a couple of things that aren't on the checklist that are just from me knowing the airplane so well, and I'm not getting the power back. Get a little bit back, but not enough for it to maintain altitude. So at that point, it's nighttime, and it's time to look for a place to land. And the closest airport was Lordsburg.
How long was that whole descent? How many minutes?
Oh, easily 10, 15 minits. I mean, the other thing about the Moonies is they glide very, very well.
And so for 10, 15 minutes, you're questioning whether you're going to make it or not.
Right, and I'm assuming, and at some point in there, I'm thinking that something's going to happen. I'm gonna get enough power out of the engine to limp it to the Lordsburg Airport. I twist the GPS knobs to get nearest airport information, hit direct to Lordsburg. Air traffic control is vectoring me there. And I can see the beacon for the Lordsburg airport, the rotating beacon. I see the white light flash, and I notice the outline of the peak of a mountain in between me and the airport. And it's, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it to the airport. And so at that point, I shut off all the lights in the airplane. I once I realized that I'm not going to make it to the airport, it's okay. Survivability is the game plan now. Prayed, asked for life. It was granted, thankfully. But at that point, it's okay. How do I make this as survivable as possible? And there's a famous aviator named Bob Hoover that his quote is, because he's crashed a few airplanes and he's probably the best pilot to ever walk the world. And his quote was, "If you're going to crash a plane, fly the airplane all the way into the crash." And so that was my thought process. I'm going to keep flying this airplane until it's not going to fly anymore. And let's mitigate risk. Okay, I'm gonna kill all the fuel systems. I pulled the mixture out. I was like, I'm committed now. This is gonna be an off-airport landing. This engine isn't coming back to life. Pull the mixture, isolate both fuel tanks, pump the throttle, try to get as much fuel out of the fuel system as possible, so that way I don't have to worry about fire. And then, okay, what's the other thing that causes a fire? Oh, electrical. All right, I shut off all the electrical in the airplane, and the lights. I dimmed the lights already, and I look out to the darkest spot of the windscreen, and I let my eyes adjust, and I can see a silhouette, more of the silhouette of the mountain range starts coming into view as my eyes adjust, and I see this flat spot that's banked a little bit, and that's the flattest spot that I can find. I aimed the airplane right there, kept my best glide speed, and I actually felt the airplane go into what's called ground effect, where when an airplane flies close to the ground, the vortexes of the plane come up underneath the airplane and lift it up into the air more. And I feel the plane go into ground effect, and I start adding flaps, slowing down the plane, and I felt the airplane touch down. I left the landing gear up. So we're sliding, and I feel us sliding, and I feel the airplane at an angle. And so I stand on the left rudder pedal trying to turn the airplane around, because my thought process is, well, we're on the ground now, and this is in a split second. We're on the ground. If we impact something, I want to do it backwards, because there's a lot more of the tail section.
Plus,
of
if
the
you
plane.
turn it, wouldn't you slow it down?
Yeah, that would slow it down as well. Yeah, but I mean, we touched down doing about 85 mile an hour, and I'm like, if I can get the airplane,
And so
turned around,
you're confident now, I would think,
yeah, well,
or more confident.
Well, and I've been doing this since I was 11 years old, and all of the training and recurrency and everything, every bit of my almost 20 years of flying experience was practicing for that moment. And I couldn't quite get the airplane turned around. We hit a runoff in the side of the mountain, and after 170, I think the NTSB said it was 177-foot slide, and that put us back into the air, not flying, but just into the air, came down, and it twisted the tail off. And when I was standing on the rudder pedal, the control linkages shot the rudder pedal up, and it actually broke my femur, my left femur. And
Thank God it wasn't your back.
oh no, I broke that too. Burst fractures L2 and L3, and they fused me L2 through 5. My face hit the instrument panel. This is another thing for aspiring pilots or aircraft owner. Put shoulder harnesses in your airplane. Mine didn't have shoulder harnesses. Me and the rest of the group who were in on this plane that was something that we were discussing, was putting in shoulder harnesses. And on the camera, you can probably see this scar right here and this scar over here, but my face impacted the instrument panel. I had an orbital globe blowout all through my left eye, lost about 80% vision in that eye. But 12 or 13 surgeries later, and after 10 months from the date of the crash, I got back into a patrol car relearned how to walk. I was there was a point in time I was actually paralyzed. When I woke up in the hospital, I could not. There was a point in time I couldn't feel from about my belly button down, and they did a surgery on my spine that was successful. It was supposed to be only a 30-40% success rate, but woke up and the prick from the pen from the doctor in my foot was one of the best feelings I ever felt. But yeah, after 10 months and relearning how to walk.
Okay, real quick, jump back for a second. You went down the cliff, and where are you at that point? How far out in the wilderness are you?
Well, if you go straight line distance, about 10 miles south of Lordsburg, New Mexico, which the only thing anybody knows Lordsburg for is a truck stop on I-10. But to get there, we were probably 5,000 foot elevation. The Border Patrol is who rescued me and my buddy.
How did they know you were there?
Oh, I was on an instrument flight plan. And
So they were looking for you?
yeah, they were looking for me. I declared an emergency with air traffic control, told them where I was trying to go, and told them where I was going to end up being. It took them just shy of 7 hours to get to us. And I thought it was 20 minutes. I actually joked with the Border Patrol agent. His name is Agent Whithead. Kept in contact with him. Very, very good man. But I joked with him. I remember clear as day watching him walk down. I was laying down outside of the plane, and I remember watching him walk down the hill at us. And I was like, man, 20 minutes, that's an awfully long response time over where I work.
How long were
we
you
try
out
to have
there?
a 5-minute response.
How long were you out in the wilderness?
Between 5 and 7 hours.
Were you conscious?
No. Well, for the parts of it, I was. I really, truly thought it was like 20 minutes before they got to us. When he told me it's been over 5 hours, but I thought he was messing with me. And it wasn't until after we got to the hospital that it was, no, that was almost 7 hours that you were out there. And, thankfully for the U.S. Border Patrol, I was able to drop a 911 call while I was up there on the side of the mountains, and just happened to catch the tower just right. And the New Mexico State Police answered the 911 call. Come to find out later on, the New Mexico State Police went off duty after receiving that call, and the Border Patrol picked it up and still went out into the wilderness. And this is something I didn't know about the Border Patrol, which is absolutely amazing. These guys are top notch. Probably 2 or 3 of these Border Patrol agents that found us were paramedics with full advanced life support. Everything that's in an ambulance, they carried in the back of their Tahoe and went all the way up into the middle of nowhere on 4-wheelers to find us with every bit of medical equipment that they have in the back of an ambulance. And I can attest to me being alive, to the Border Patrol being so highly trained and such professional law enforcement officers. And they got me into the helicopter, and I was flown to El Paso, where I think I was at UTMB El Paso for 2 months, and then transferred to Victoria for another couple of months of inpatient physical rehab. Ironically, they wanted to put me in an ambulance, and the first thing that I did after I got out of the hospital, going between the two, is I called a friend of mine with an airplane to fly me to Victoria. So right after crashing a plane, the first thing I do is climb back in one.
That's an amazing story. Amazing.
Grace of God.
Guys, yeah. Well, we're going to finish this up here, but John, go ahead and tell us where we can learn more about your campaign.
Of course, Facebook, my page, and my website, jp4fortbend.com. My moniker, if you would, is JP for JP3.
Great, excellent. Well, it's been a great honor to have both of you men on the show tonight. I do appreciate both your time, and I wish you the best of luck in your coming campaigns.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
And this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. We will be back next week with one more hot topic. Have a great week.
This is The Chris Heasley Show, coming to you from Radiodabang, the North America's premier broadcasting network.